In this video, police were called to a hotel in Illinois following complaints of terrifying screams coming from one of the rooms. The most horrifying aspect of the complaint is that the hotel staff confirmed that no one was staying in the hotel room where the screams were coming from.
There's no one checked into that room. There should be nobody in there.
In the video, a hotel security officer makes his way to the hotel room where the screams are coming from. He stops outside of the room, looking very nervous. The screams are blood-curdling and non-stop. The hotel staff confirms to the security officer that there should be no one in the room. They also tell the security officer to wait for the police to arrive, but the officer opens the door to check and make sure no one's in there. When he opens the door to the room, the screams stop.
John's gonna enter the room real quick just to check, make sure, see what's going on.
The security officer enters the room with a flashlight. As soon as he's inside, a translucent figure seems to rush out of the door of the room and go down the hall of the hotel. The lights in the hall flicker as well. When the security officer comes back out of the room, he says that he still wants the police to come and check it out. He says that there's no one in the room, but all the furniture has been turned upside down, the carpet's been ripped up, and the shower is on. The officer is so spooked that he goes back to the hotel lobby. He didn't want to be near the room alone anymore. Grand theft with child in the car in North Tryon. This theft occurred at a laundromat while the car owner, a mother, was in the laundromat with her 7-year-old left in the car. The young teens you see on screen, including the weirdly dressed guy in the long sky blue overcoat, drove off with the woman's car after they found it in the parking lot with the engine running. They let the child go and you can see the kid running into the laundromat to tell his mother what had happened.
And I see the commotion, and I said, "What's going on?" She said, "Somebody took my car."
You can imagine the child's terror when a strange group of boys jumps into the car with him.
I turned around, and they were in and out in a matter of seconds, right? They just walked through.
The car was recovered following a 911 call, and some of the suspects have been apprehended so far. The child must be terrified, as would the mother. Who wouldn't be?
Woman steals baby from NICU. A little different from other clips we've shown, but still disturbing nonetheless. We see a woman walking into the hospital casually about midway, nothing in her hands. The video cuts to another vantage point, presumably a little while later, and the woman is back, now with a newborn baby, making her way back and out of the building. However, as it turns out, this is not the woman's baby, as she just walked into the hospital and stole this newborn out of the newborn unit. As it turns out, this was part of a growing trend that has been happening, and yet they didn't catch this woman's not very sneaky escape until it was presumably too late.
Crime of passion. Newcastle, England. The night it all happened, Jason Brockbanks and Aaron Ray had a fun night out in town, visiting several bars and enjoying themselves. You can see the two lovers as they went about their night, moving from one part of the town to another until 3 a.m. Aaron is the one in the white tee. It was after the happy night out that Aaron scrolled through Jason's phone, discovering sex chats between Jason and users on the dating app Grindr. Jason was 24 years old while his lover and killer Aaron was 21. Aaron filmed himself scrolling through Jason's phone, showing the text between Jason and the other men he was chatting with. Afterwards, he attacked Jason, fatally stabbing him in his bathroom. Jason's parents had to reach out to the building manager when they couldn't reach their little boy, and the manager opened the door with her key when no one answered the door, discovering the body on the bathroom floor. The court discovered that Aaron stabbed Jason in the back and abdomen, then walked into the communal kitchen to drop the knife before heading off to Central Station in Newcastle to take a taxi to Sunderland. He claims he didn't know that he'd fatally injured Jason. He said that they'd struggled, but he didn't realize he'd killed his lover. They had met on Grindr only 3 months before. Sinking Hawaiian plane. Thanks to an exclusive GoPro clip, this crash was filmed from within their seats.
What we want to show you is the kind of camera it was shot on. It's called a GoPro camera, and it is a remarkable video. Take a look.
A small passenger plane made its crash landing on the way to Hawaii, landing in the water as everyone got free and hanging onto parts of the plane to keep safe. This clip gives an unparalleled point of view of an ongoing plane crash, unlike anything most people will see, without the terror of actually dealing with it. The antique gun, quite in England. Luis de Zoisa is an addict with Asperger's syndrome. Besides his deep love for cannabis, his other favorite thing is weapons. He bought an antique revolver off the internet in the heat of the COVID-19 lockdown and manufactured his own bullets right in his home. While he walked the streets of South London on September 24, 2020, the police stopped him and found his two favorite things in his bag, cannabis and bullets.
Yeah, canisters.
Oh.
Right, at the moment, I'm placing you under arrest for possession of what I believe to be bullets.
You can see De Souza. The moment the police stopped him and the bag is in his possession. He was questioned before his bag was searched to reveal its dangerous contents. He was charged with possession, though the cops didn't find the gun on him, only the bullets and the cannabis. He was taken down to the Croydon police station to be processed. It was at this point that all hell broke loose. While in police custody, De Souza whipped out the revolver which he'd been hiding under his coat and shot Sergeant Rantana. In the video, Sergeant Rantana walked in, explaining to De Souza the reason he'd been arrested. Then he commands him to stand.
Alright, your detention's not been authorised yet, but I can authorise a search of you under section 54 of PACE. Stand up.
It was at this moment that he whipped out his gun and fired. 3 to the chest, Pueblo West, Colorado. Richard Ward suffers from anxiety. You can hear him say he suffers from that when an officer asks him why he's acting a certain way.
I'm just messing with you, man. Why are you touching my arm, bro? Let go.
Why are you acting like this?
I'm a little nervous because I don't like cops.
Why?
I have anxiety. They've done things to me.
What have they done to you?
Stop resisting when you're not resisting.
Was that PD or us?
Who knows?
Because we're different, right? We're the SO.
I don't know. You treat us all. I mean, I'm not just trying to distract you, nothing, but it's just like, I'm just a normal guy just trying to get my brother, you know?
You said we treat you?
He also explains that he's come to pick up his brother. This is all happening at the parking lot of Liberty Point International Middle School.
I'm just here to pick up my little brother, man. I'd like to
So,
who did I disrupt by trying to get my brother?
Well, they said that you were going around trying to mess with doors and open up cars.
No, dude, the car looked, I thought... Oh my
so
God.
what'd you do? I just want to hear your side of the story, man.
Oh, you're talking, dude, I straight up thought that was my freaking, my car. That's all it was.
You thought it was your car over here and you were looking for your brother, but not quite sure that...
I straight up thought that was my car.
Okay.
I seen the
and
people
what
in
car
it.
was it?
I thought it was my mom. I was yelling at her. I thought, because I knew she was in there. I don't even know that lady.
There was a report that he had tried to get into cars that didn't belong to him, and he tries to explain to the cops that it was simply a case of mistaken identity where he thought the car belonged to his mother. When the officer asked if he has any weapons on him, Ward was unable to answer and was rummaging through his pocket.
Do you have any weapons? Do you have any weapons?
I don't think so. I had a pocket.
You don't think so? Don't pull now.
The cops are spooked and drag him out of the car and pin him to the ground. The cop shoots him 3 times in the chest. You can hear one of the people in the car asking, "Did you guys shoot him?" and the voice of Ward's mother saying he didn't have a weapon on him. Imagine the pain of watching police officers shooting your son in your presence.
Stop moving.
Did you shoot him? Did you guys shoot him?
No weapon was found on Ward except his anxiety medication, which he was probably rummaging for when the cops thought he was reaching for a weapon. In a disgusting lack of justice, the cop who killed Ward was cleared of all wrongdoings and received a Purple Heart Award for his bravery.
Spirit leaves body and escapes. If you thought the clip before was something, you'd love to see this. This clip catches yet another body being evacuated by its soul. There's a figure lying on a bed and suddenly, their form sits up, but it looks as though it simply floats back and out of view. No one is around to try and resuscitate the person. The camera caught those final few moments before the spirit seemed to go into the great beyond. Shaking subway, Mexico City. Have you ever been at the wrong place at the wrong time? These passengers were stuck in a subway station in 2017 during the Puebla earthquake. The ground and everything around violently shakes as people try to hunker down and wait it out. But the train starts to shake immediately. Luckily, everyone inside the train was able to get out and onto the more sturdy platform in the meantime. In the last clip, you can see as the camera begins to shake violently and people are pulling the last few people stuck in the train out and into the more safe crowd. While we luckily don't see anyone getting hurt, and these clips are relatively tame, mass panic can cause more harm than the actual event in times of crisis. As we'll see in the future video, sometimes cramped spaces are the worst place to try to get safety in.
The wild encounter. If you blinked, you might have missed the sight of that terrifying wild mountain lion tearing through the front of a hair salon.
It was insane. I have never seen anything like that before.
This happened right in the middle of the day, and you can see the customer quickly close the door to stay out of harm's way. If you missed it the first time, watch out as it turns around and runs in the opposite direction. The animal was also captured in another part of town. Watch as it runs across the road, prancing with careless abandon. Look closely at the frame and you'll see the animal lying placidly among the bushes in front of another establishment. The mountain lion finally walked into a lab before animal control officers sedated and carried the big cat out of the building. The man who watched the mountain lion walk right through his doors of the lab can be seen on screen, more enthused than scared, I must say.
I went outside, a gentleman from next door said, "Oh, there's a lion on the loose." I said, "Oh, he's just gone through to the lab."
Exposed engine emergency. As this plane takes off, they realize quickly that the engine cowling comes loose, which is a hazardous situation to find yourself in.
Our cowling's popping open on my side.
Oh shoot, oh shoot.
My airplane.
You have an airplane?
Airplanes are fine-tuned to work under the best circumstances and to not only have a massive piece of metal come flying off, obstructing the pilot's view, but also affecting the wind and how well they fly.
It's not a big deal.
Okay.
This was the best-case scenario. Due to the pilot's skill, they're able to turn around and land safely on the tarmac, despite the odds clearly stacked against them. There had to be a few moments of sheer terror as they watched it get torn off and flap around in the wind. As it turns out, a latch was missing that would have helped detach and secure it in the air.
Gotta make the landing nice if it's gonna go on YouTube. Alright, and then we'll just hit it with a little turn off here. And we're good!
Pedestrian in Lincolnshire, Boston, England. The date is the 28th of July, 2022, early evening. Lilia Valitide can be seen playing hula hoops outside an embroidery shop in Boston, Lincolnshire. She's with her younger sister and their mother was only yards away and within earshot. You can see the kids playing on the screen with the hula hoops in Lilia's hand. Her kid sister is right there by her side, but the next thing you see are EMTs rushing to the scene. The mother had heard someone yell "Mom" and rushed out to find Lilia bleeding out and her kid sister standing in shock, watching her big sister grapple with death. Medics were able to get Lilia to the hospital, but she died before anything could be done for her. The young man in the last frame is 22-year-old Davidas Skebas, who had been charged to the court for murder. Speedy Escape. Seems not everyone's made out for chasing bad guys, not even the boys in blue. Of course, it's not all dangerous crimes, and we don't have the context when we see a jailbreak like this. The moment Martinez, shown here, sees an exit, he takes it. There's no hesitation. He's small and fast and makes a break for it. The officers aren't quite in the same shape he is, and you can tell just how well that goes. We see him jump clean over a fence, putting the much-needed distance between him and the officers gaining on him. It's far from an even run between them. The cops move as quickly as possible, but can't hoist their bodies over the fence like the young man in custody. He might have even gotten away with it if it wasn't for a concerned neighbor who watched the would-be inmate crawl beneath her house. Can't really blame her there, though, can you? Woman chases man out of Target. In this video, a woman films herself talking to a man in a Target store. It's unclear what they're talking about, but then the woman points to the camera at him and asks if he remembers talking to her before. The man instantly starts running out of the Target.
Stop that guy! Call the cops! Call the cops on him! Call the cops!
The woman chases him out, yelling for people to stop him and call the police. She chases him all the way out to the parking lot and he gets in his car and leaves. The woman said she'd seen the man in the Target before and he had asked her super inappropriate questions that made her feel very uncomfortable. When the woman saw him again, she engaged in conversation with him so she could get a video of his face to turn into police.
That was what was going through my head, was just I had to get his face, I had to get something on him to put him out there and catch this guy. This was the second time in 2 years I knew that he was doing it to other girls.
Police weren't able to do much as the video didn't capture any inappropriateness of the conversation and was basically a he said, she said case. The Portland Pooper. Here's a fully grown man doing the dirtiest thing anyone could ever do out in public, and the worst thing about it is how he's staring back at the camera like he knew it was there. Here's what he does. He takes toilet paper, sneaks into corners, pulls his pants down to defecate at the side of an office building.
I find it interesting that he has toilet paper with him. It's very pre-planned.
This is not a man who was caught in a difficult situation. No, it's not a one-off either. He's done it before.
I think it's really gross and shocking. I don't know what to say about it.
If that's not gross enough, imagine the shame of having his face all over town on posters with the tag Portland Pooper as the police have gotten involved and would like to pull him in for what they called offensive littering.
I think that's more of a private thing to do, not in an area where people live around, where children and just not okay.
Have you ever had something this offensive happen around you?
I'm really curious what the circumstances are as to why he's doing this.
Is it the worst reduction to our base instincts I've seen in a long time? One thing's for sure, it sure is gross.
I think it's very Portland, and I'm not surprised at all. You just really don't know what to expect around here. People, they like to do their own thing. They kind of walk to the beat of their own drum.
Haunted Honduran hospital. This mostly empty-looking hospital in Honduras at first seems innocuous, a little creepy but nothing crazy. As it goes though, there seems to be a figure coming out of a doorway. The figure walks through the hall and it's clear that it's unnatural, as you can see through the figure. This clip is believed to show a long-past doctor who's simply going about their regular rounds, but it's hard to see what he's doing, and whether or not it's just a creepy story or true is unclear. It lurches out of the door into the hall, and it's translucent like a ghost. The person filming backs through the doorway and loses view of the ghost.
Firefighters fight huge flames inside home. This video shows just how massive some house fires can get in a short amount of time, and how detrimental they can become if firefighters don't respond quickly.
I'm on scene. I have heavy fire through the roof. Unknown if any officer side. We'll be getting a 360. Have all units continue straight in. Stand by for 360.
In the video, firefighters rush to the scene of a house fire. The roof of the home is engulfed in flames. The fire was likely caused by some sort of electrical problem in the house.
Compilation Grange, I see. We have a par for all personnel on scene. We do have knockdown in the fire. We'll be continuing with offensive operations.
The firefighters enter the home, and the bottom portion of the home has not been touched by the flames yet.
I got that second line. We'll bring it back here. Okay. Yeah.
However, the upstairs is still burning, so they must act fast. The firefighters use a tool to punch holes in the ceiling of the downstairs level of the home. The ceiling breaks fairly easily because it's been weakened by the flames, and the holes reveal massive flames upstairs. As they break through the ceiling, the rest of the firefighting team works together to shoot water up towards the roof.
Fire attack, the Grange SCI, copy, primary search complete.
Copter Battalion 142.
The video gets pretty intense as flames fall from the ceiling onto the firefighter, but they continue to work. Thankfully, the fire was put out and no one was harmed. Final moments, Melbourne, Australia. Moments before Anwar Teriyaki died, he thought he could outrun his assailants. In moments like this, your life will flash right before your eyes and nothing else will matter except staying alive. And in his case, he tried. It happened on the 9th of August, 2017, as Anwar was heading to their home in Roxburgh Park, where he lived with his parents. The two men who chase him in the video are believed to share links with an incarcerated drug dealer who's suspected to have given the order for Anwar's murder from his prison confines. They gave chase and Anwar took off, trying to evade them. Watch their hands. One of them's holding the weapon which they murdered Anwar with. Just a stone's throw from his home, they caught up with him and shot him. That moment when he runs past the screen, obviously terrified, is the last time anyone saw him alive. Windowsill Bandit escapes. Some criminals are downright creative in their big escapes. Never limit yourself by what you think you can or can't do, at least not when you have enough creativity and an open window. This man ties together a few blankets, and like a cartoon thief, he jumps out the window for his great escape. He's either brilliant or stupid, but this confidence carries this. Most people would stop to assess the damage or even ensure he isn't in danger of being watched, but this wanted man doesn't stop for anything, and that could have made all the difference. Target store looted. After George Floyd was killed by a cop, the United States exploded with outcries against the tragedy. Protests formed across the states, and many turned violent. During one protest in Minnesota, people began looting the local Target. The video footage looks like a scene right out of a post-apocalyptic movie. Everything from the shelves had been taken, people were running in and out of the store with goods, a large fire was started, and people were walking around the streets with guns to protect themselves. The Target store was completely emptied during the riot.
Ghost train caught on tape, deep in the woods. As we showed earlier in the video, apparently plenty of ghost trains have been caught going through China over the years, as the CCTV caught another clip of one. This one is in black and white as the train zips through the woods en route to its destination. It's hard to tell what was happening or if this is simply a double exposed image meant to look like a poltergeist train has been speeding through the woods, but either way, it's convincing enough to believe it's stuck on some eternal, otherworldly route.
Handcuffed agility. When you get an opportunity to run, you take it. Not just the last man, but anyone who's been cuffed and left behind. What do cops expect? Opportunity doesn't always come knocking with your freedom served on a golden platter. This gentleman saw his opening, and while he stumbled a bit, the commotion he used for cover was actually perfect. Without using his hands, he reaches his feet and runs into the crowd. The cops have been so distracted with the civil unrest beside them that he got to be the one who got away. Would you have let him run like this crowd did or tried to stop him? I guess context matters a lot. KFC explodes in Rockingham. What can make a building explode like firecrackers? The answer is the gas leak, and watching the explosion itself and the resulting damage, your heart immediately flies out of your chest. If the explosion was this bad, how many casualties did it leave in its wake? The answer is none, and for that we're thankful. An employee smelled gas while locking up and informed the manager, and together they evacuated and informed the gas company of the leak, but before they could arrive, everything went up in smoke. Literally. The debris left behind and the damage to surrounding businesses gives you a clear idea of what happened here. That is, if the massive explosion didn't tell the story.
Terrifying psychiatric patient. There's plenty of old, creepy Soviet-era footage out there. This clip might very well take the cake. Looking like something ripped out of the famous Russian sleep experiment, a man is seen emaciated, sitting on a bed. It cuts several times, showing as he frantically jumps around the room, cutting to different clips of him shaking things, rocking back and forth, and more. The video cuts several times as if the feed was corrupted over time due to something we can't explain. There's a sudden jump to his face, a close-up on the camera, and it doesn't look very human. The clip goes white for a moment, and we see what looks like a man floating in mid-air, as if suspended by some force. Then the clip finally cuts.
Another no-good gang. The masked individuals wearing baseball caps to aid their masks are said to be a South American crime ring who target high-end homes. On the screen, you can see two faceless men walk through the yard before a third man joins them.
I mean, it makes you feel unsafe in your own house.
What you see afterwards are the works of these burglars who gained access to the house through the glass door of the home. Pulled out drawers and cabinets and scattered clothing show the havoc these men wreaked at this home. They're said to have made off with some jewelries and some other items. Towards the end, you see the culprits leaving what may be a different building, and two of them are carrying something really heavy. It appears two more houses in the same neighborhood were broken into as well. 911 call nightmare scenario. You never know what you'll walk in on a job. In high-risk professions like being a police officer, things can not only go south quickly, but you can walk into something you're not always going to know what's on the other side of the call they got. Before you get into it, you can't really know what you're in for.
Okay, and this is the very last house at the dead end on the right, correct?
They do know that there's clear and present danger, but it's just the two cops coming to handle it, at least at first.
Alright, Sarge, you want to come with me since he's covering? Police department! Where are you at? What's that? We got contact with one subject in the house talking to him. Alright, wait on that one right there. You down here by yourself? There's a subject down.
We can't show what happened. It's too graphic for YouTube's policies. The officer makes their way. After a few moments of deliberation, the cops rush in and are greeted nearly immediately by Alex Jackson's family, his father, mother, and sister. Alex had self-inflicted his own wound and was actually the one who called the police in the first place.
I'll get him with an ambulance. Not that I know of. This is all clear back here? Yeah. That's all been cleared?
And the basement's been completely cleared, right? Garage is cleared.
Yeah. Garage, yeah. Whatever was broken someone call that. Mom's laying right in here.
They weren't quick enough to stop the violence, no matter how professionally and quickly they handled the situation when they were there. The officers make their way out, and luckily for the second round of responders, meaning the medical staff, they have an opportunity to prime them for what they're about to walk in on.
Go to the back. They're bringing one subject out the back door who's injured. Okay. One guy. We got one patient. We got one injured. Moore and Adam 39.
And that leaves the last part of this story, Alex himself. It's worth noting that while the officers had him out on the stretcher discussing his transport to the hospital, they still managed to keep their cool. Do you think you could stay level-headed, knowing that these officers literally saw that nightmare in that house? It takes nerves of steel to keep it together, I'd imagine.
What hospital are you going to? You prefer... What? I'll take him to Luke's. Luke's? Okay.
Terrifying turbulence. You don't get on a plane expecting turbulence, but sometimes it's enough to convince people to never step foot on it. In this clip, the flight attendants continue their work until they hunker down, while the passengers stay seated and calm. Towards the end of the clip, they seem to recompose themselves and move to safe positions. In movies, you'll see people panic most of the time, but these travelers seem well equipped to handle what's happening. Luckily, there are no oxygen masks dispatched. This clip shows how well composed the plane keeps, and it feels almost just like a run-of-the-mill procedure, despite the whole world shaking around them. Abandoned psychiatric hospital. Psychiatric hospitals are creepy on a good day, but what about one covered in unidentifiable stains with creepy sigils and graffiti all over? Lost History walks into the site, first greeted with unmistakable blood splatter on a door before continuing in. The centerpiece, however, is a creepy porcelain doll sitting on a bathtub where the words evil have been painted with red splatter, right next to an upside-down cross. Whether something genuinely horrific happened here, or if it's a cleverly disguised prank, I wouldn't want to stumble across this one, not in a million years. But that's the danger of urban exploring, isn't it? You never know what you'll get.
Ghost train in San Antonio. These creepy train tracks are unlike many of the other ghost trains on our list today. The sad history of the tracks tells the story of a school bus that unfortunately stalled out while full of children and was smashed by an oncoming train. The creepy part about this is if you park on the tracks, supposedly, little handprints appear on your car as the kids push it off the tracks. Among the uncomfortable feeling that the area gave, the original poster, TikTok user Octavio Gomez 484 caught a strange sight in and of itself, a weird floating leaf like it was being held by some invisible specter. What do you think of this one? Could it be a genuinely haunted site?
Angry woman destroys mask display. In a Target located in Arizona, one woman filmed herself as she tore down a mask display in the store. As she takes down the display, throwing all the masks down on the floor, she repeatedly states, "This is over."
This over. This over.
When employees try to stop her, she asks if it's because she's a white blonde woman and wears a $40,000 Rolex.
No, I'm not doing it. We don't want any of this anymore. This is over. No. No. Dude, why? Why? You let everybody else do it. You let everybody else do it. Why I can't do it? Because I'm a blonde white woman?
The woman was removed from the store, and later police visited her at her home. She filmed them as she told them about conspiracy theories and how COVID-19 wasn't real. Later, the woman came forward and publicly apologized for her actions in the Target store. She claimed to have had a nervous breakdown after losing her business during COVID-19, and that she'd also been obsessively reading into conspiracy theories that prompted her to act out like that. Firefighters put out intense house fire. In this video, firefighters are responding to a home fire. They've walked up the stairs of the home to get to the fire that almost completely consumed the roof. They use a tool to break down the ceiling, but then the entire ceiling crumbles because of damage done by the fire.
Right above us, hey!
This sends dust and debris into the air, lowering the visibility, but the firefighters continue to shoot water up towards it. Because they didn't stop fighting the fire, even after the roof came down, they were able to put out the fire without any injuries. Sleight of hand. The perfect package thief. Most of the thefts we discuss have just one thing in common. The thieves are so casual and unbothered. They wear a cool demeanor while carrying out their evil acts. Look at the man in the video. On first look, you'll think that he's a package delivery guy coming to deliver a package to this family, since he has a package in his hand. But watch as he drops it and quickly picks up a different package from this family's doorstep. He must have cased the environment and made sure that a new package had been left at the door to pull off this near-perfect crime. But it wasn't perfect, as the family's door cam caught the whole movement and the police were quickly involved. The perfect package thief wasn't able to complete his sleight of hand. We'll still give him a 60% rating for calmness, as he really did pull off a quick one. Woman almost abducted in Chicago. When a Chicago resident heard the screams of a woman coming from the street below their apartment, they went out onto their balcony to see what was happening. They were able to capture the last part of the horrific scene with their phone camera. In the video, a red van pulls out of a parking spot and speeds away down the street. Another car sits in the middle of the road with the passenger door open, seemingly to having tried to block the red van from escaping. Police were called and were given information about what had just happened. A woman was walking down the street when two men got out of the red van and tried to drag her inside the vehicle. Luckily, a Lyft driver was passing right at the time of the abduction. The driver pulled to a stop and the Lyft passenger got out of the car and pulled the woman away from her abductors. Unfortunately, the Lyft driver did not block the red van well enough and the van was able to get away. Police were unable to find who the abductors were, which was really upsetting to the neighborhood, because just a month before, another woman was almost abducted off the street nearby.